A self-governing dynamic network devoid of a managing nucleus is designed to organize purposeful, synchronized activity of large groups of people as an alternative to the rigid hierarchy that serves as the basis of most existing socio-political organizations. Young Lviv activists representing different NGOs offered their help with the presentation of working algorithm of such a dynamic network. Let us consider the construction and activity processes of a typical socio-political organization. When a member of active citizens meet and they share similar views of the actions to be undertaken to improve the society, to make it better, more humane or fair, they establish an NGO that with this time stands as a chance to develop into a massive movement or a political party. The membership of such NGOs may subsequently increase. The increase rate depends on the demand of the ideas uninitiated by its policy documents. When the number of members exceeds 15-20 individuals, the organization loses the ability to effectively generate, adapt and carry out decisions aimed at achieving the declared objectives. This makes the organization members resort to a hierarchical structure. As a rule, they choose the administrative board and the head, who are supposed to generate and make the key decisions. It is implied that the other organization members will carry them out obediently. Under these circumstances, important information circulates only within the managing nucleus, while common members receive it in pieces. An example, it is fragmented, which prevents them from seeing the comprehensive picture of what is going on. This is why they eventually focus their attention on the interesting things happening around them. This leads to growing passivity of most rank-and-file members, to lack of motivation to carry out the leader's decisions and actively participate in the activities of the socio-political organization. Even if the organization goes on with its activities due to the charisma and energy of its leaders, its hierarchical construction, however, entails bureaucratization of its top in accordance with the iron law of oligarchy by Robert Michels. Apart from this, information monopoly gives the leaders the opportunity to manipulate with options available, for instance, to knowingly offer during meetings, conferences or conversations the decisions that are only beneficial to the managing nucleus. It should be pointed out that this behavioral scheme is conditioned by the position of the leaders in the peculiar role play, invariably replicated by the hierarchical structure rather than by their personal traits. Another major drawback of socio-political organizations is their being extremely prone to falling under external control. This happens when a more dominant organization seizes the power by influencing the leader or certain members of the managing nucleus in a number of ways. It should be also pointed out that people who rise vertically in such hierarchical organizations are usually far from the best, since members with more varied behavioral schemes stand a better chance of advancing themselves as they are ready to do it, regardless of any moral and ethical constraints. These drawbacks lead to the never-ending splits within Ukrainian political parties and NGOs, to their marginalization and, as a result, denigration of democracy and discrediting of the very idea of civil society. These processes have recurred in different social-political organizations for all of the human history as a result of the lack of understanding or suppression of the fault of the hierarchical construction. Just think whether everybody has ever mentioned the iron law of oligarchy by Michels when you were entering political parties or NGOs. However, it is described in many political science handbooks for higher education institutions. The hierarchical structure of social political organizations, by the way, is secured by the Ukrainian legislation in the form of compulsory requirements to their statuses. The dominance of hierarchy in the structure of the downstream links of social political organizations is in effect the system which calls for quality changes by introduction of a network element and its consolidation through certain types of statutory activity. One alternative to hierarchical structure is a self-governing dynamic network, without the managing nucleus, designed for the purpose of organizing effective synchronized work of big groups of people. Let us proceed and demonstrate directly the algorithm of work of a dynamic network as amplified by meeting of a social political organization with three types of program objectives. These types in our program will be symbiotically represented by boxes of various colors. Every category of objectives is developed by a specialized working team consisting of the members who are the most competent in the area of the most willing to achieve the corresponding goals. To better illustrate the distribution of the participants in specialized teams and their further restructuring, they will wear covers of different color in accordance with the color of the boxes that stand for the activity objectives. The cover number corresponds to the cross team where every meeting participant will work at another stage of the algorithm. The scheme amplifies the breakdown of members of a social political organization into different functional groups to arrange their activity according to work of the two-dimensional dynamic network algorithm. Let us start our meeting. In our case, there are 15 participants. They are subdivided into 3 specialized teams and 5 cross teams. With growth of the organization, the number of specialized teams as well as the number of participants may go up. Conducting a meeting of more than 70 members and up to a couple of hundreds requires the application of the work algorithm of 3-dimension dynamic network, which requires a couple of additional steps. The scheme represents the work algorithm of 2-dimensional dynamic network. Its cyclical duplication makes up the foundation of social political organizations' activity. Every step of the algorithm may last from 20 to 60 minutes depending on the complexity and scope of the issues to be discussed. At the initial stage, the participants are arranged into specialized teams to analyze the external information. They also generate and note down in their personal minutes a set of likely alternatives in their activity to achieve the given objectives, or, in other words, possible solution of the given tasks to the corresponding objectives. With this purpose, the participants apply various methods, such as brainstorming, basics of the inventive problem-solving theory, etc. This first step results in generating a list of options in the personal protocol by every specialized team member. Maintaining a protocol is a necessary condition for a successful activity of a dynamic network. This allows a lossless propagation of information obtained during restructuring of the group into other types. Thus, the quality level of the final decision considerably depends on how well each participant performs his communicative function. On the other step of the algorithm, the participants are restructured into cross teams, which include one member from each previous specialized group. One by one, they tell their colleagues about the alternatives they have generated and listen to their remarks, comments, suggestions, and new ideas. Apart from this, they analyze the level of support for each alternative on the part of the members of the team and its chances to be accepted by general vote. Results in generation of a list of remarks, comments and suggestions concerning the options generated in specialized groups, as well as a list of new alternatives, if any, in each participant's personal minutes. The third step of the work algorithm of a dynamic network implies discussions in the initial specialized teams where the previous stage information, criticism, comments, suggestions, and proposals concerning the list of alternatives is being analyzed and generalized. Based on this, the final draft discussion is prepared, which must be the requirements prescribed for such documents. The result of work from the third step is a project of optimal solution, one that comprises the attributes required for its successful implementation. At the fourth step, in plenary session, the final solution projects of specialized teams are presented to the participants who either approve or vote them down by qualified majority without any debate. The plenary session results in a protocol of the meeting that includes description of approved or dismissed decisions. The fifth step of the algorithm implies implementation of the solutions in accordance with their attributes. It can be of two types. The first type involves creation of analytical materials and disseminating them in informational environment in order to familiarize the target audience with them. The second type of decision implementation consists in actual, practical action of hierarchically structured groups headed by coordinators who, in their turn, are subordinate to an executor in charge for each specific decision in accordance with the attributes of its formulation. In our presentation, different colored geometrical figures, triangles, squares, and circles attached to the participants' arms indicate what executive groups they belong to. The next complex of measures implies receiving and analyzing the external environment's response to the organization's decision implementation activity, adjustment of the tasks of specialized teams, and proposing new tasks in accordance with the existing plans of accomplishing strategic and tactical objectives worked out at the previous stages of activity. The application of this work algorithm in time corresponds to John Boyd's OOD-A loop, which implies a consecutive fulfillment of individual activity processes. For example, observation, orientation, decision-making, and action. Herein, the awareness and comprehension of core tasks is ensured by specialized teams. Intensive communication among all the participants take place in the cross-groups, and organization's active capacity is assured by executive groups led by responsible individuals. Hence, socio-political organizations constructed a self-governing dynamic network have a changeable structure as information analysis, decision generating, and decision-making take place in orderly horizontal network, while it is the executive hierarchy that deals with their fulfillment. We wish you every success in your public socio-political activity.